Alright, this is rebelfrak, and I just wanted to do a video blog and address some of the reoccurring themes that I've been noticing on some of the video blogs and text commenting amongst African Americans, and that is something that I call mental lynching. And to me, that's like one of the most heinous black on black crimes that we as black people can commit against one another. Lynching is the term comes from the last name of a man named Willie Lynch. He was an affluent slave owner from the West Indies who delivered a speech to some slave owners in West Virginia in 1712, and basically he outlined a way for those slave owners to have more control over the African slaves who were sometimes running away, having uprisings and destroying the crops and killing the animals. And basically he just outlined a way to pit the African slaves against one another based on the color of their skin, the texture of their hair, their intellect, their gender. And he said if they implemented that diligently for 1 year, that they could control those African slaves for 300 years. And basically, just seeing some of these video blogs, some of the text comments, and even though the video blogs themselves weren't divisive or anything, it's just some of the themes and the responses that they got, where African Americans are, we're on these video blogs and we're doing these text commentings, and we're page after page, and some of us are going back and forth insulting one another and putting one another down, and you sound black, and you don't sound educated, and we're just doing all this stuff. And it's the year 2009, and it's almost laughable, but at the same time it's tragic. And it's to me it's one of the worst things that we can do. And there's a African American philosopher and professor named Dr. Cornel West. He taught for a while at Harvard, and he made a comment one time that African Americans, that we do not see each other, we do not see ourselves through African eyes, that we see ourselves through European eyes. And there was a time in the history of African Americans here where that was a necessity. We needed to be able to see or understand how white people, mainly white police officers, white slave owners and overseers, how they perceived us, because how they perceived the way we were walking, talking, an attitude that we gave off, what we were looking at, how long we let our eyes rest on a silver spoon, or on someone's wife, or on someone's horse or mule. It could get us beaten. It could have gotten our ancestors beaten. It could have been killed. They could have been sold away from their family. I mean, so it was basically a survival. It was a way of survival. And so it was passed on to, they were passed on to their children and to their children's children, and it basically became, entrenched in our culture. And now to the point where, those racist components in the establishment, they don't have to worry about us or monitor us too closely, because we are too busy, we're too divided along those lines. And basically now, they're filters, that is how we see ourselves. It's like they've pulled the wool over our eyes. It renders us sleepwalkers, and we are so busy dividing and judging one another and excluding one another, that anyone who wants to come in and destroy our communities, to destroy any projects that we're working on towards betterment, it's easy to do if they use that same blueprint. It's a blueprint that was outlined to be used against us in 1712, and we were still doing it. And I just, when I saw, like I said, when I saw the, some of those video blogs, and some of them had, like 2,000 views, and page after page of text commenting. Some of them, a good portion of them, really, bitter, just putting one another down. And I just, realized that, some of the conversations that I've had, with brothers and sisters, where, they've shared, we've shared some, being on the giving end and the receiving end of that type of hatred, that type of black on black crime, where, a lot of us, have turned, it's driven us, it's given us addictions, where some of us, have, we're drinking and using drugs, to deal with the pain of being rejected by by a family member, or another member of the community, because our skin is too dark, and then through a European filter, dark represents, for them, that represents, or it can represent for them, ugly or bad or evil, and how that hurts, or on the other side, someone's been rejected because they're too light, okay, or because someone's hair is considered nappy or curly or kinky, and that's supposed to be bad. And dark skin, nappy hair, kinky hair, that is, those are African characteristics, and there is no judgment call to be made. It just is. That's the way it is. But we're doing that to one another, and I think that it's a waste of time. It's divisive, and it's divide and conquer is what it is. It's a military strategy. It's been used since the beginning of time. It's not just in our community, but it was introduced to our ancestors, by Willie Lynch, and it's been in our culture now for well over 300 years. But you can find it in the African, you can find it in, the Asian community, those tensions and strifes, and hatred and just bitterness and fights between los mojosos, issues with, los güeros, los indios, the issues in the Asian community, between some of the tension between the Japanese and the Koreans, or the Japanese and the Chinese. You can see it, even in white people, the haves and the have-nots. This person's white trash, we don't invite her to the party, or this one's middle class. I mean, just it's a way to control any given population. And in our community, I just feel that times are such that we are wasting time. We don't need to be doing that. It distracts us. It puts us into boxes that we're sitting up here deciding that someone's an Uncle Tom, or that they're a sellout because of the way they talk, where we've associated white with educated. So if you talk educated, that means that you're trying to be white. That's an insult. Basically, you flip that around. That's saying that black, to talk, the black is inherently ignorant, and if you talk black, then you're not going to talk educated, and you don't want to be too educated because you don't want to be rejected. Those are insults, and we do that to one another. Around music, if you're black and you play rock music, or you listen to rock music, well, then you're a sellout. Even though the fact that rock music came, it originated, it was created by black people. To tell somebody that Jimi Hendrix is a sellout, that is, or an Uncle Tom, that is so stupid. That was a black man playing black music. He was successful. He was talented. The things that we do, it's almost laughable. At the same time, it's crazy making, and it's so painful. It can drive someone almost to bleed from the inside out. It's a form of mental lynching, and I think it's something that we need to stop. And I don't know, I just want to end with an allegory about the Black Star liner, where Marcus Garvey had some boats that he, the idea of getting some boats together to take the descendants of the African diaspora back to Africa. But if it's an allegory, if we all try to go down to the shores to get on the boats, I don't know, we wouldn't let some groups get in because maybe these are brothers who got too much sugar in the tank. We ain't going to let these get in because, their hair looks like this or they dress like that, and we don't want that. We're not going to let this group in because they're thugs and they don't talk with good diction. We wouldn't let these people get on the boats because some of them are claiming to be Buddhist, and some of them are embracing New Age this and that. And by the time the boats reach the African coastline, there's nobody in them. Okay, that's my video blog. Anyone wants to comment, feel free. This is rebelfrak.